Welcome to the Pinning Combination Podcast. I'm KJ Pilcher alongside Dick Briggs, making our inaugural appearance for the 2023-24 wrestling season. Coach Briggs, good to see you again.
And you as well. Here we go. But buckle down, whatever. Strap your seatbelt in. Let's go.
Yep, fitting time to come back here. Thanksgiving week. Thankful to have wrestling season upon us. College wrestling is heating up. Girls season is underway. We'll have some we'll share kind of our hopes and plans for the girls reports and stuff here coming up hopefully in the future. Boys season about a week away. But yeah, things are definitely heating up, and thankful that we've got wrestling and uh, being able to do this once again this season.
Hallelujah. And boy, has it got off to a bang, especially at the college level. Obviously, the girls are started in high school. Boys still have yet to start. But man, college, holy cow. We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Yep, and we'll talk a little bit about some results from various levels on the in the college ranks for the men. Some of the women's results, especially with the UNI in their first season here. Um, we'll kind of look ahead to the high school season and stuff. But one thing, Coach, you wanted to do a little something different this year, or add a little something to the
Yeah,
Pinning Combination podcast. Tell us
here
a
we
little bit
go.
about what you want to do each week.
So I'm going to do it like a 60-second segment or less. So very quick hitter. What's on my mind? It could be a rant. It could be a rave. All right. So this week, here's how we're starting. That was not a fair catch. All right. That was not a fair catch. That was clearly this is a fair catch. That being said, I'm sorry that all of the injuries that happened, in particular Cooper DeJean, as I'm referring to here. But congratulations to the Iowa football team for winning the West in spite of the negative support from a large portion of their fan base. Some of the keyboard heroes need to be positive and be a good fan rather than a negative fanatic. Regardless of what happens in the Big Ten championship game, we get to turn on the TV, and 12 other teams in the Big Ten don't get to do that and watch their team play. So, that way, Iowa Hawkeyes, I'm proud of you. And a lot of people complain, but I was on the edge of my seat for every minute of their games. It's just, yeah, they're close and they're defensive, but so what? That's football. It's like a pitcher's duel in baseball, right? So anyway, Iowa State, Coach Campbell, you continue to surprise and impress me, and with your progress, improvement in your fighting your kids. UNI is always a tough out, and they kind of tripped up against Southwest Missouri State. And lastly, why do we have to keep changing the weights? And now I have to learn them again. It's probably about the 10th time since I've been around wrestling. So anyway, that's it.
Wow, coming out hot right out of the gate. Um, with that, that's cool. Um, one thing I'll kind of add, if you don't mind, when you mentioned you're on your seat for those close games, even though they're low scoring and everything. You mentioned the pitcher's duel. One of my biggest pet peeves is this affiliation with runs scored and action, or that for some reason people equate action with scoring. And
Yeah,
that irritates me with baseball, because baseball can be just as exciting and enjoyable with a 1-1-0, 2-1 game. There are different aspects with defense and that pitcher batter uh you know kind of going at each other, the strategy in that, that people, I don't know if they're too dumb to understand it. You know, same thing, same thing can be said with wrestling too. Sometimes there are matches that are 2-0, 2-1 that there may not be points scored, but there are a hell of a lot of scrambles. There's a lot of good wrestling. Just because both of them are at a certain level, it didn't produce a lot of points.
I'll
And
give you
sometimes,
a perfect example. You and I called it last year a couple of times, and we're going to talk about it probably a little bit. The Nocturne Arnold matches, very tight, very not a lot of scoring and lots of action,
yeah, they're
those
like
types of matches.
3-2, you know, but you had, oh, every one of those matches were
Right?
fun to watch,
Yep.
and just using this as an example, David Carr beats Dean Hamady 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, do you think Caliendo's win against Ferret at 15-10 was more exciting and more enjoyable because it was 15-10 compared to 2-0? I don't think so. You know, and yeah, sure, Iowa had its moments with the lack of offense, but still those games are still enjoyable. You know, maybe can't see the forest through the trees when it comes to
Right.
know,
You
at
know,
least
it's
you're getting
like
success. But I can also see the frustration on the other side too.
right,
Um,
and
you know,
everyone has their taste. Do you like
mhm.
chocolate, vanilla, strawberry? I mean, do you like a low scoring tight match, or do you like a wide open match,
Yep,
game, whatever? So, yeah, there you go.
yep. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the matches that we had this last weekend. Um, we'll start with Iowa's win over Oregon State. Remember, a couple of years ago, Oregon State was supposed to come to Carver and had travel problems. That's what led to kind of a quick turnaround on bringing Army and Cal Baptist in. Led to a neat little home and away with both of those schools. That I'm sure they're uh, glad to have had, kind of play out. But Oregon State finally comes to town. Iowa posts a 25-11 win, gets 7 out of 10 matches to go their way. Saw some new faces there in Carver. Um, what stood out to you? I know there's some ups and downs there. Drake Ayala falling by a point. Victor Volinovich gets an overtime win. North Dakota State transfers both win. Was impressed with Zach Glazier. Real Woods was uh, dominant. Brody Teske with a major. But what stood out to you Sunday with Oregon State and Iowa?
Well, some of those that you mentioned, but really with the new lineup, with there's a whole bunch of folks that are new to the lineup, transfers, obviously with things that happened off the mat, and kind of decimated partial of their lineup, the Hawkeyes lineup. So to me, I was like, I don't know what to expect here with these new guys. I don't know them well enough, other than seeing maybe the national tournament in the match there or whatever. And so I was kind of eyes wide open to see what's going to happen, what it's like. So yeah, there were some tight matches, and Ayala, that surprised me. I guess I didn't expect that to happen. Um, and like Vinovich, that's there's a guy I don't know much about, so I'm eager to see what he can do.
Kind of, I thought an interesting fact there. We're talking about some of the guys in the Iowa lineup wrestling at Carver for the first time. Franek, Caliendo, Gabe Arnold, who we'll talk about a little bit more in depth. Um, they all made their Carver debuts. Volinovich was not making his Carver debut. He wrestled at Carver last year for Okie State, and lost 4-3 to Max Murin. And here now he's on the flip side, where he's wrestling for Iowa just a year later, and well, less than a year later. Um, and he comes away with a victory in overtime. Um, Kind of interesting there with Volinovich. Uh, Joins Ray Brinzer and Steve Mako as wrestlers that have crossed over from Okie State, Iowa, and vice versa in that long-standing rivalry. So, kind of interesting group to join for Victor.
Not to say it's not a rivalry, it still is, but do you feel like it's a little less of a rivalry than it used to be back in the few years ago?
Oklahoma State and Iowa.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, definitely with Penn State, with their emergence over the last 13, 12, 13 years. Oklahoma State really, kind of being on the back half of the top 10 for the most part during that stretch as well, especially here lately. It doesn't have the same um, kind of feel to it. Probably what, maybe third on the list, I would guess.
Yeah.
Um, Between, with Iowa, Penn State, Iowa, Iowa State.
Michigan.
Um, that could be climbing up there.
Yeah.
The only the only problem with Michigan is they just don't get to see them each year.
Right. Michigan
You know,
and Nebraska, Minnesota, those,
yeah.
states, border states.
I still think Oklahoma State's ahead of those, but yeah, definitely down the list now.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, Iowa 2-0 now. You know, I guess what have you thought about what they've had here early with maybe a lineup they weren't expecting to have at the end of last season.
Well, I think they've fared well. They did take their guys up to Luther Open, which changed that tournament a lot. Made it a lot tougher when Iowa's varsity's there, but it also evidently made some of the other teams not bring their varsity. It seems so. Then traveling out west, had a nice duel out there, and then so kind of get that team camaraderie going with the travel and sleeping to in the same room and eating together, that sort of thing. That helps build that. And then a nice win over Oregon State. I had forgotten about the weathered out, as a
Mm-hmm.
reason for having that. And you got new guys. Maybe now's the time to talk about appropriate time to talk about Gabe Arnold. A true freshman. And here's a guy, Gabe Arnold did a great job. Had that nice win over Whitlake, who also transferred from Oklahoma State to
Right.
Oregon State, right? And
Yep.
I don't know that Whitlake was a All American. I don't remember if he
He
was or not.
was a couple years ago.
A couple of years ago, okay,
A couple years removed from his All American finish.
okay. And so here's Gabe Arnold wrestling against at least All American caliber wrestler, and did a nice job. But we know Arnold's tough to score on. He's so athletic, he's so strong and so low to the ground, and he's tough to score on. He's flexible. Remember, he's got, as I recall, doesn't he have the splits? And I remember Noctiborn being in on him a couple of times and just not being able to finish. And so
That
not
match at Linmar that we covered. Yep.
right. And so Arnold's going to be a tough out, and we don't know whether he'll continue to be in the lineup because he gets four. Is that correct?
Four. I think four before you burn your red shirt. So
Right. So that was a big win, a nice win for the true freshman transfer to City High last year, and then into the lineup this year. Now remember, he kind of called out. Boy, talk about God.
Starochi.
Sorochi was a high school senior. These are the three-time national champ. Well, at that time, two-time, probably. So
No,
potential four-timer.
two things stood out to me about the match with Arnold and Whitlake. Um, that I think says a lot about Arnold. One, the way he finished his takedown, where how many times have we seen Tom talk about guys having to just plant plant the opponent in the mat to finish stuff. And how many times have there been guys that have tried to finish and then end up, kind of getting in a scramble and not being able to finish or give up points because guys like to roll and do different things and come up with, you know, uh, Iowa wrestler's foot or something. And he drilled Whitlake into the ground and finished emphatically. I think that says a lot you know, about him and not kind of getting caught up in certain positions. The thing that I thought was really big was in the second period when he escaped in 14 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest transition from high school to college,
Underneath.
especially for top notch wrestlers that aren't underneath very much? It's the bottom position. And he's wrestling against an All American and a graduate transfer, a veteran rider in Whitlake, and he gets out in 14 seconds. I think that says just as much of Arnold that than the takedown itself. That you know that's one of the question marks is how guys can get out from underneath. And boy, he popped out right away, and I think
Right.
that says a lot about kind of where he's at.
Right. And that you're exactly right. That transition high school to college underneath is that's the biggest one. The other telltale was to me was at the end of the third period, the end of the match, when Whitlick was down and had an opportunity to score and win the match with the takedown, really did not even give an attempt. Kind of almost showed that he was defeated or he just couldn't get through Arnold's defense and so that to me that was another big sign.
We've kind of mentioned the transfers already. They really solidified the middle of that Iowa lineup with
Mm-hmm.
suspensions and everything. All three won against Oregon State. You've got Jared Franick, who comes in. He's ranked number 2 right now. Caliendo, another All American. He's ranked 6th or somewhere around there. It's going to be interesting to see how 165 shakes out with Caliendo and Pat Kennedy when Pat Kennedy comes back and what they might do kind of going forward. Voinovich, but they uh, they really have kind of built some depth uh, with those guys, especially in the middle weights.
Yeah, built depth as they were getting a lot of it peeled away from them. Yeah, so I just as you were speaking, I was thinking with Franek in there at 57, and uh, was it Chittum that was at that Iowa and kind of gray shirted, and so now he's
Yeah,
in Iowa State. So that matchup, they wouldn't have seen each other probably very much because Chittum would have probably left before Franek, as they were kind of passing in the night sort of thing.
right.
So there won't be a lot of, there probably won't be a lot of, hard feelings or anything. It'd be just a regular get ready match. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, One other thing too that we got to look at, with the suspensions, what I was going to do at heavyweight. Bradley Hill kind of filling the spot right now. He lost a 4-1 decision to Boone McDermott, former Wallert wrestler who was at Rutgers last year, transferred to Oregon State this season, kind of manning the spot there. Uh, but you've got Ben Keeter. Saw a picture of him on X, formerly Twitter, with some other linebackers holding the Big Ten West title trophy. Um, I know a lot of talk is, uh, after football season, then he'll join the wrestling team. You know, uh, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. If he'll will be the guy maybe for the whole season, or if they'll look to incorporate Keeter, and if that'll be a step up um, once football's over and we kind of get into the Big Ten season.
You know, who knows? The lineup could do some shifting, like you mentioned, Kennedy, and what he might do. Maybe he bumps up a weight. Arnold comes out, he redshirts. They insert Keeter into heavyweight after football, after the bowl season is done, and if the need is there, if they're in the hunt for, which I'm sure they will be, for Big Ten championship and national championship. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, that's at this point in time, we'll just have to wait and see. That's some question marks.
Yeah, asked Gabe Arnold after the Oregon State meet, what his preference would be. You know, you want to have a few matches and then redshirt, or if you want to be in that spot, you know, if it was your preference, that'd be your spot from now, through the end of the season. And he said, I just want to be a national champ. I want to be a 4-time national champ, and I'll do whatever the coaches tell me. And if it's this year, great. If that path is starting next year, that's fine too. But he's pretty much trusting the coaches and saying, hey, whatever they decide, um, that's what I'll go with. And as long as it leads to top of the podium at the NCAA. So we'll see. I don't know. That's going to be a tough decision, especially now. You know, are they going to have a chance at a national title? Doesn't necessarily look like it. So some of those decisions, might depend on where they're sitting at as a team, on whether or not you burn that shirt or you wait a year and let him keep working on his craft.
Right here, sitting here, mid late November, we'll just have to wait, kind of see how that plays out. But I would think they probably want to try and redshirt him. I mean, and he's a good kid. We got to know him a little bit with the interviews, and I know you've interviewed him.
Yeah.
Just so he'll do exactly what the coaches believe, and coaches will do him right. I think so.
Uh, let's switch to Iowa State. First thing I'll ask you is, this is like the third year that Iowa State has had a duel at Humboldt. I know Purdue went there the one year because it was Ursuline and Dresser, both from Humboldt. What do you think about having a duel like that at Dresser's alma mater, having a D1 wrestling meet in a high school gym? Um, for fun and kind of creating that different experience.
I think I hadn't thought about it, so this is off the top of my head. Uh, but now that you say that, 3 years in a row, maybe it's getting old. Maybe it's one that you do every 3, 4 years, uh, and I don't know. I don't know what the feeling is. Obviously Dresser likes it. He continues to do it. So, and some pretty good teams have gone in there. So it's been good duels, which they're probably forfeiting a good chunk of their gate fee from what they might draw at Iowa State. So
Yeah, I hope. I didn't think about the gate fee, but yeah, that's though there have been a couple duels this year. They went back to David Carr's alma mater, to Russell Cleveland State, I believe, and then the duel at Humboldt, and you know, kind of neat. But yeah, like you said, maybe it's better suited, every other year or something like that. But um, yeah, it's cool.
mm-hmm.
Um, but Iowa State, man, regardless of where they were at, boy, they were dominant against Wisconsin, blanket on 42-0. Um, I know you were really impressed with what they were able to do on Sunday.
Right. I was shocked when I wasn't able to watch it, but when I saw the score and looked at the box scores, I'm like, holy moly, Iowa State's for real. I mean, not that I didn't think they were, but and Wisconsin must be down a bit, maybe, I don't know, but um, geez,
Maybe
I
a
mean,
little bit of both.
they still have 3 or 4 ranked kids on their team. including, like you mentioned, Hamity. So, wow, that just surprised me and shocked me.
Yep.
I don't know if you noticed in Wisconsin's lineup, the 184 pounder,
Yep. Shane Leigel.
Shane Legal from
Legal.
Wisconsin originally, but Loris, and a good kid, very nice kid. I'll pull for him. He's a good kid, and so it's a D3 graduate. So he's a graduate student now at Wisconsin. So I hope the best for him. Good family and good
Yeah.
kid.
Yep. Uh, well, let's talk the two big matches that really stand out there. David Carr over Hamity at 165. Number two versus number four. Um, at the time, Carr with an escape in the second and a ride out in the third. Um, you know, that's a nice quality win here. Good win for him, even though Carr probably would have you know liked to open the gap a little bit, but still a nice victory for David Carr and against a you know top opponent.
Absolutely, so I'm gonna bump up to another one that really impressed me. Kyson Terrakina at 125 beat number six Eric Barnett 14-3. I mean, that wasn't even close. And we beat him by major. So I mean, that one shocked me. Now Terrakina, and this is when we get to our choices. I'm gonna tip my hand a little bit here. I don't know where to go with him. In the Iowa duel, because there's a guy that can look like this, beat a number six ranked by major, and then can be, lose another one to maybe a lesser wrestler. So,
Yeah.
um, but so good for him. Yeah.
Uh, and then we talked about some of the new faces in the Iowa lineup. Iowa State has a couple as well. You mentioned Cody Chittum, who ended up at Iowa State, was expected to be at Iowa. Now Cyclone, he got a major decision at 157. And then the former Ohio State wrestler Anthony Echemendia. Uh, I know a lot of people pronounce his name differently, but Echemendia is how Shane Sparks pronounced it on a Big Ten broadcast. So I'm going with Sparksy on that one. So Echemendia down to 141. He won by technical fall. That leaves Casey Skrzewski um, to step in at 149. And, he had a nice win over number 14, Joseph Zargo, um, on Sunday as well. So Echemendia and Chittum really solidifies the middle of Iowa State's lineup as well.
Well, and then Swiderski uh, had a nice win over number 14th ranked Zargo from Wisconsin. So he insert him in between the two you just mentioned. By the way, thanks for I just wrote down the Echemendia's pronunciation. So
Yeah.
all right. So yeah, and then obviously David Carr to anchor that foursome that we just talked about right in the middle. That's a tough go. So
Yeah. And then you've got Will Feldkamp that is stepping in at 184 as well. That certainly helps the um Cyclones um as well. That gives them a little boost in the upper part of their lineup. Um
help me out. 74 Gayton. Where did he transfer from?
I think Gatan has been a Cyclone. It's Feldkamp that was at Clarion.
Oh, it's Feldkamp. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He was an All American last year. He got seventh place um, at 184. So, and I think he was a national qualifier at 97 the year before that. Even I think he spent before he went to Clarion. He was also at Northern Illinois. So he's kind of bounced around a little bit, but um, brings an All American status to 184 for the Cyclones, and he got a pin against Legal, who's no slouch, as we mentioned before, NCAA Division III runner-up. Um, but that was big. And what about the transition that Younger Bastida has made the heavyweight? Um, he's looked very, very tough here, kind of in the early part of the year.
Yeah, and Bastida's he's a goer on his feet. So one of the things I always kind of cross my fingers and hope that he didn't run out of gas at 97 with those big bodies. Now he's got some bigger bodies, but the bigger bodies sometimes go at a little bit slower pace. Not so much anymore, but so we'll see how he fits in there. He's going to be. I imagine he's got to be a light heavyweight, so he's going to have to use that speed and skill to. And the word is that there might be another heavyweight entering the rankings, maybe from Minnesota. Did I hear that?
Oh, really? Have
Yeah,
they ironed that out to where uh, he'd make it back in?
not yet, but I know that's not that I've heard anyway, but I know that's kind of still on the table. I think so.
So that'll alter things quite a bit on the national landscape if Mr. Stevenson returns to the college ranks for one more year.
Yeah, if that happens. So, but boy,
Well, let's take a look at this Sunday here with the Iowa State duel. The Cyhawk series will be at Ames, the Hilton Coliseum, starting at 2 o'clock. Um, one of the highlights of this is what people believe to be the first live college wrestling duel on ESPN. The flagship, not one of the alternate stations like ESPN2 or ESPNU, but on ESPN. That this will be the first one live that on the mothership.
yeah, that's pretty cool. First duel. They've covered nationals before, I believe, on the mothership. So
Mm-hmm.
they've had wrestling, but not a dual meet. And I think they picked a good one. So it's going to be exciting. And there's always a chance for some. There's some a couple of hotheads on either team. If they can keep that under control, and actually on either bench. Maybe
Yep.
not necessarily
Oh,
numbers.
for sure, for sure. There are some personalities that could create some dramatics and theatrics Sunday afternoon. That's for sure.
Right.
Um, Iowa has an 18 dual win streak in the series. Tom Brand's undefeated against Iowa State, but you know, I tell you, this is a duel that there are some matches that could go either way, and it could. I mean, the scores could really vary. I had it. I've had it everything from 18-18 to 19-13, and everywhere in between, depending on things. This might be the most fun Cyhawk duel is produced in a long time.
Right. And I have it very tight as well, or it could be a runaway. And by the runaway, I think on the Iowa side, I have 5 matches that I'm favoring to Iowa, 3 that I'm favoring to Iowa State, 2 that are toss ups. So I think Iowa State has to win those toss ups, and then if they do, they'll win the meet because I think Iowa State has a better chance for bonus points than Iowa does. Uh,
Okay.
so and I'm like you. Yesterday I was totally different, and so I changed it. So we'll see.
Okay, let's run down really quick weight by weight, starting at 125. I know Tirakina, uh, very strong to start the season. Ayala coming off probably a disappointing loss, you would say, against Oregon State. Still going with Ayala here, but I think it'll be Ayala by decision. Um, you know, I might have thought otherwise a year ago or 2 years ago, but Ayala by decision here.
And this is one of my toss ups that Iowa State, I think, has to win the meet. So if they start at 25, that might tip it right off the bat in favor of one team or another. If they start somewhere else, then we'll have to see how that plays out. But I don't know. Usually Iowa wants to start at 25. Spencer Lee. I don't know if they will anymore. So
I
we'll
think
see.
Tom likes that no matter what. They
Okay.
like start. They like the traditional lightest to heaviest. I think. Uh, at 133, I've got Teskey by major. I know some people have said they think Frost will keep it close, but I I like what I saw out of Teskey on Sunday, even though he kind of got caught flat footed a couple times and gave up takedowns, but still got a major. Um, I like seeing him doing that again here.
And I have Teskey winning, and I had him as their best chance for a bonus win. So your major is right on line with mine. I guess I wrote down three, but obviously it could be four or more.
At 41, this is an interesting matchup. So you got number one Real Woods versus Echemendia. Echemendia was really good for Ohio State. Has had some issues. He wrestled at the Soldier Salute last year, and I think lost to Caleb Rachi um, there, but that was at 149 as well. He looks huge at 141. Um, Against anybody else, I was having Woods with a tech fall, but Echemendia right now, boy, I think he keeps it to a decision. I still like Woods, but um, by decision.
Well, I'll say this: I have Woods by decision as well, but the number one ranked 125 pounder has been upset this year, the defending champion. The number one ranked 133-pound defending world champ, has been upset. So if we're
Yeah,
going right up the line, 141, who knows? This could be
and
maybe. So, but I've got a real winning by decision.
okay. At 149, I'll let you go first at 149.
149 again. Swiderski's kind of he's to me he's street tough. He's like a brawler, kind of out there on the mat. That sort of good. But and Voinovich, I have him by decision, but Swiderski can keep his emotions under control and focus. He could pull it off. So, but Voinovich by decision.
I have Swiderski by decision,
There you go.
and and the reason why, the one thing with Voinovich, he got in on shots, but he had a hard time finishing against Oregon State. And in matches like this, if you can't capitalize, it usually comes back to bite you right in the ass, right? Um, and I bet he gets in on a couple shots. He can't finish. I bet you Swiderski comes through and burns him with it later on in the match. Especially now with 3-point takedowns. I think that could loom large in this one where Swiderski scores a takedown late and early or late and beats him. Um, Even though it's one that could go either way, I'm going to give that to Iowa State by decision.
Yeah.
What about 157? That's an interesting matchup with Franek and Chittum.
I've got Franek. I mean, he's North Dakota State's always known for having tough wrestlers on top, and I just think that I just Franek. I got him by decision, tight match, but
I think that's one that could go either way. I've got Frantic by decision um, as well. 165, you got Carr and Caliendo.
Yeah, Carr. Here's Carr. You know, he wrestled number 4 in his last meet, and now in this next match, he's got number 5. So he's and he's still, you know, he's got his mind set on Missouri, but um, there's good tune-ups for him for the start of the season. He had to come out and be ready to wrestle. He wins it. I don't think it'll be a close match, but I don't think it'll be sudden victory or anything like that. So
You don't think he has possibility for bonus points?
always that's always a possibility with David Carr. I don't know that he can get it in this match, but I don't, like I said, I don't think it'll be close, but I think it'll be a decision, maybe a major. I guess with 3 point takedown, that's a bigger possibility. So
See, that's where I was kind of on the fence because obviously going with Carr, but you know, in this type of environment, you know, I mean, I've got a feeling Hilton's going to be hostile, right? Um, I think they like what they're putting out on the mat. I think this is their best chance in a long time to get a win, which I agree. Think it is, but you know you get in something like that, and no offense to North Dakota State, I'm sure they've got some rivalries. They've got big crowds. You know, these guys have wrestled in big tournaments throughout their whole lives, but this is just different. Maybe I'm making out to be more than it is, but I think this is something where we'll see Caliendo's medal, I guess, here and how he stands up. If Carr gets rolling, you know, Major's not out of the question. But I'll go with Carr by decision there as well. 174, kind of a big question mark. You know, who Iowa will send out. Um, you know, Gabe Arnold, Aiden Riggins, maybe somebody else. Um, I assume it's going to be Gabe Arnold this time, coming off his win with Whitlake. Who do you have here at 174 with Arnold and uh, Gatan?
again, this was my toss-up or my toss-up match, my second one, 125 and 174.
Okay.
Uh, I just Arnold's so hard to score on. And he can get that one takedown and carry that through to the win. Um, if he's out on the mat, I kind of favor Arnold in a very tight match. Uh, if he's not, I'm going to go the other direction. Yeah, I think that's what we'll have to do.
Okay. I'm going to go Arnold by decision. There, I think, you know, um, I think he lives for this stuff. I, you know, I think when the light shines brightest, that's when his eyes really open up. I think he really likes these challenges and this kind of stage. Um, so I think if Iowa puts Arnold out there again, he'll come away with a decision. At 184, Feldkamp has looked really good. Saw Swafford kind of have a hard time with it against number 3 Trey Munoz. Um, on Sunday, I've got Feldkamp here with a major decision.
Right, and same here as major decision and potentially a maybe worse. So,
Yep.
but I had him, I had Feldkamp winning by major.
197, I was really impressed. I thought Zach Glazier looked pretty good on Sunday. He got a major at 197 against a guy that was right on the verge, you know, projected to be an NCAA qualifier. Um, he looked solid for most of the match. Um, I like him over Broderson here by decision as well.
Right. I agree. He did look good. Had a big win. Uh, and Broderson's up 2 weight classes from 74 to 97, so a big jump. Um, and you know, I watched Broderson a couple of years ago with Kyle wrestling him, and so I know a little bit about him, and and through high school, he's
Mhm.
a guy that likes to throw. He's gonna so he if he wins, he's gonna maybe win by pin, and so if he can hit that throw at the right time, and who knows? I mean, he's got a left-handed headlock, and I have Glazer winning as well, but just so you know, that potential's there. And
Yeah, that could be a 9 point swing, is what you're saying.
right, and that magic in
Possibly.
this tournament or in this duel has happened with both sides, so you never
Yep.
know.
Simpson Volker, right?
Yeah, there's one for sure.
And who was the one? Was it Austin Baugh and Bannock?
Yes,
Dave
uh,
Austin Baugh?
yeah. I don't remember how to pronounce his name. Yeah, yes, at heavyweight for sure.
Yep.
I believe
Yeah.
it.
So there you go. That either one of those two that would fall in line with those two happenings. Then at heavyweight, Bastida and I assume Bradley Hill. Um, there, I have Bastida by major decision.
And I had Bastida with potential for tech fall because he's busy, can get busy on his feet, get those 3 point takedowns going, and it's easier now to get a major, and it's easier to get a tech fall since you're getting more points for a takedown. So I'm I'm thinking a tech fall is not out of order here.
Okay, yeah, that's where I'm. I just think Hill could keep it
Mm-hmm.
not close, but to
Just slow it.
prevent. I think he can stay in good position. He's strong, you know. But Bastida, when he's on, he's so explosive and so good on his feet. You know, you're six or seven takedowns isn't out of the question, and with a 3 point takedown, you know that certainly helps your cause to be able to put up an extra bonus point. So, yeah, I'm right there with you, either a major or tech fall for Bastida.
It'll be fun.
So, so what I have uh, initially, I have 1914. I have about three or four matches that could go either way. So, even if one of those go either way in Iowa State's favor,
Good
that
flip.
turns into a 17-16 Iowa State win.
Right. And I'm like you. I can't come up with a final because I keep flip flopping myself.
I know, right?
and
It's what
and
makes it tough and fun all in one.
right, exactly. That yeah, if it's going to be a blowout, that we wouldn't probably be even talking about it. So as much anyway. So I can't declare a winner because I'll have a different one in 10 minutes.
Yeah, right. um, so that'll be Sunday on ESPN, 2 p.m. at Hilton Coliseum in Ames, the Cyhawk series. Um, that should be a fun duel. Let's switch gears. Uh, you and I wrestled this last weekend at the Dectronics Open up at South Dakota State. They crowned 5 champions, including Cale Happel, Wyatt Volker. Cale Happel won his second title up there. Looked really, really good in doing so. Volker, who wrestled in the World Greco Championships um, this summer, looked good. The one thing that stands out to me about Volker coming away with a title there is he finished in front of uh, Adam Aronson and Caleb Runyon, who he was kind of competing with for the starting spot. So that's got to be a good thing for Volker that he's able to come away um, with a title there and maybe kind of establish himself at the head of that competition for 197 because I heard Runyon is really, really close there as well. Uh, Happel looked really, really good. He had a tech fall, a major, and then he pinned Zach Redding from Iowa State in the final. Um, and some people might recognize this name as well. Volker beat Gavin Nelson of Minnesota 4-1 in the finals. Does that name sound familiar to you at all?
Gavin Nelson. Help me out. I don't, not right off the top of my head.
Gavin Nelson was a nationally ranked wrestler for Simley High School, I believe. Wrestled Ben Keeter in the finals of
Oh,
the first Donnybrook.
oh yeah,
That Keeter, I believe, took down and beat in overtime.
in sudden
Or
victory. Right.
yep.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're right. Now I've got it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Big time wrestler
So
there.
that's a quality win in the finals for Volker. You and I also had titles from Adam Allard, Ryder Downey, those two at 49-57, and then 174-pounder Jared Sima as well. One thing I want to ask you about here, um, well, I guess first off, what are your thoughts about kind of what those guys were able to do up at South Dakota State, and um, maybe what you see out of you and I? Obviously it's Parker Keckheisen,
Boy,
and the rest. But what do you see this year with you and I, who's replacing a lot from a year ago?
I love what Schwab's doing up there. He's just brought, and if you didn't notice, of the five champs, four of them are Iowa high school wrestlers. As we talked about, Happel, Allard, Downey, and Volker. I don't believe Sima is he? Anyway, and so and then so you've got those five champs and Keckheisen, who's obviously sitting out for his All Star meet, which is tonight, right? And
Yes.
anyway, so here's my thoughts. I'm so happy that Kale Happel is able uh, to wrestle and be in the lineup all the time, as opposed to brother Carter, who was kind of in and out of the lineup throughout his career. And so, it's nice to see he's going to have that opportunity to make that improvement with all the opportunities on man. Ryder Downey, that Downey from, gosh, he had the big win at state, right? Um, um, oh, geez, knocked off potential four timer from Iowa City West.
Yep. Avila.
Oh, thank you, Robert Avila. Sorry, and so it's nice to see him. I like that Downey family. They're goers, and Wyatt Volker has taken major steps, giant steps in his improvement with his off season international wrestling and such. So, yeah, good to see him. And I didn't realize that he was being pushed, like you mentioned in the room there. So that's good. Uh, and you and I also brings back some experience at heavyweight and a couple of other weights. So, um,
Yep. Tyrell Gordon back for a 6 year. I mean, I think that's a big piece to, you know, uh, for them both in duels and in tournaments. I think he like the like how he wrestles. He right now he's kind of ranked in the mid-teens kind of area, but I definitely think he could be a round of 12 guy when this is all, maybe even push for the podium when it's all done. But
right, and you
you
never
know,
know at heavyweight. It's just heavyweight's one of those weights that is Wyatt Henderson? Am I saying it? From Air Force? Is he
and
back this year?
yes, he is.
Oh man, there's a fun guy to watch too.
Yep. And we mentioned Keckheisen. Keckheisen and Hendrickson both are part of the NWCA um, docket tonight at Penn State. But before we get to that, though, um, the the big thing that kind of got announced here over the last month, the new the plans for a new standalone wrestling facility to replace the West Gym. Just to recap, the West Gym was kind of deemed unsafe, had a lot of coding issues and structural issues that they determined it was just easier to raise it um, and tear it down than do all the upgrades and stuff necessary for it. That pushed Iowa or UNI Wrestling out of the West Gym. I think they were offered like one of the recreation gyms to hold their practices in. Schwab was like, "Yeah, that's not going to help us." Um, so the wrestling program took it upon themselves to go out find a place to train. They were able to do that. They uh, I think Sean Kelly was the individual that kind of really helped them find a place and kind of get it up to where it's a functioning uh, college facility for them to train at. And since then, you and I announced that a new they didn't really place a price tag on it, but I think they were talking about like 5 million was what they were throwing around at a press conference um, for that standalone training facility. Could be kitty corner in one of the open lots from the McLeod Center. But what are your thoughts about that being added into the large campaign for you and I to upgrade facilities?
Well, as a former wrestler that wrestled in the West Gym back then, the men's gym, the we had some battles with Cal Poly, Cal Bakersfield, Iowa. That happened when I was a senior in high school, but you and I beat Iowa in that, and so my heart breaks, that the West Gym is going down. It's 98 years old, I understand, and so it's I'm saddened for that. I hope the facility that they end up building isn't a pole barn, of sorts. I hope it's a high quality, and I don't know what 5 million gets you these days, So
Right.
when I compare it with Iowa and Iowa State projected cost of theirs, anyway, I'm thankful that Sean Kelly stepped up. That I forget the name of their club, but I believe it was their club, the kids club
Mm-hmm.
facility. So it's a you and I brought in their wall mats and their wrestling mats, and I don't know if the kids are still using it or what. So you and I have to share it, or I do know it probably doesn't have shower facilities. I would guess. I don't know that it has
Yeah, I don't know.
training facilities. So it's something to work out in, and it's away from campus. That's another bit of a detriment. It is what it is. You have to take care of it and deal with it as an athlete. But I'm anxious. I was happy to see that they got something at least on the plan. And as I recall, I think it's when I was in school. I think there was a power plant there, maybe or something, or a warehouse or whatever. And you're right. It's kind of kitty corner from McLeod to the south or west.
Yeah, there's like a it's an unpaved parking spot. There's parking lot there. A lot of times it's used for like high school football playoffs with overflow parking and stuff like that too. So I think that's where the plan is for right now. But a couple things that Schwab said I thought was interesting. One, he talked about uh, you know uh, it's not the building that matters. It's the work that you do in the building and the people in it that matters the most. And you know, he's got a point there. Even though, let's face it, facilities do matter. You know, second, as far as the price tag, he thought some of the monies that other schools are using for new facilities. I think his term was silly. He's like, hey, let's raise $10 million for a facility and then use another 10 million to If they raise 20 million, use 10 for the facility and 10 to endow the program um, going forward. That they don't need, you know, all the bells and whistles that some of these other facilities are coming up with. But um, you know, I think it also shows maybe a little dedication to the program or some loyalty from the admins that, hey, you know, we weren't able to, know the West Gym was something that was important to you. They're going to incorporate some of that into this new facility. So some of it, what they can salvage, will go into the new facility. So there'll still be aspects of the West Gym there, but it also shows that they're willing to help with resources to the program that, I don't know if they've been there at times over the last 20 some years.
Right, I agree. I'm a little disappointed they didn't have a plan in place earlier than, they announced that the building's unsafe, and then they offered Gym 7 and Gym 8, as I understand, in the rec center, which is an
Right.
open facility. So
I
you
think
can,
that's where they have like intramurals and like kids basketball tournaments. I think Keely and Katie have played up there before.
right.
Not a wrestling room for a D1 program.
No, for anyone, for
Yeah.
not even for high school. I mean, you kind of see. So the facility doesn't matter. Good for Schwab for saying that, but it does matter. You're right. It does matter when it comes to recruiting. Facilities are a big issue. That's what you know. That's what I was. I think they have the ability to do this with the alumni support, but to have that multi-million-dollar building built exclusively for wrestling so now they can compete with whatever Penn State has in there, and Ohio State I know has a fabulous facility, and so it's and you see that happening on at the D3 level. You see that happening at the high school level. You see the Waukees and the Ankenees and the Southeast Folks, and then you see the
Right.
Des Moines North and Des Moines Lincoln, Cedar Rapids inter schools. So we kind of see it around here too with
Yep.
Prairie and their beautiful, and Linn-Mar at their campus, and Xavier and that sort of thing. So it does matter, I think, but I get what he's saying. And that's kind of the blue collar chip on your shoulder sort of athlete that UNI has, and they build on that and use that. And it's like, look at us, we're going to compete with you guys in spite of it, and maybe we weren't the 4-star athlete, we were the 2-star whatever. So
And I love that you brought that up because that was something that came up. This works for a perfect transition into the next thing, but um, it was the wrestlers. They were there painting walls. I think somebody mentioned Wade Mitchell was like did a lot of the wall painting for the offsite facility that they're using now, and those guys were the ones that did everything, did a lot of the work themselves, coming there before practice and stuff like that to paint or put things together and you know turn that into their facility. So they're the kind of guy I really, you know, Schwab got into Schwab mode a couple times during this press conference announcing the new facility, right? He's flanked by the UNI president, Mark Nook, on one side, David Harris, the AD, on the other. And Schwab was talking about this. And of course, he gets, amped up and passionate about what he's saying. And he starts talking about, yeah, our guys didn't bitch and moan. They didn't, they weren't, they might have been pissed, but they put the work in. They did this. They didn't bitch and moan about, oh, why don't we have this or that? They went to work and they took care of it and they make the best of the situation. And you can see the UNI president kind of squirm a little bit when you know, Doug saying they didn't bitch and moan and they weren't pissed and that kind of stuff. But he was right. And you nailed it on the head. A lot of these guys, not saying it's not there in other programs, but you and I think, encompasses the blue collar, hey, I'm going to do whatever I need to do attitude that a Schwab and a Randy Pugh and those guys have. I think that's uh, that's kind of a binding thread through the wrestlers on the team. Um, and guess who was one of the first ones there before practice, uh, doing stuff, and one of the last ones to leave to sweep the floor and mop stuff up?
I know. I read your article. Very,
Parker Keckheisen,
very good, Parker. Yeah.
you know, and of course he's ranked number one, coming off, that's a national finalist, and I think that's awesome. It says a lot about the character of those guys. Um, and speaking of Keckeisen, he's going to be at the NWCA All-Star Series tonight against Bernie Truax. He wrestled at Grandview 2 weeks ago to get some matches in. So uh, they might have learned last year that it was better just to get some mat time before going out to that. But Keck Eisen, and he's got a familiar foe, Bernie Truax, who is now a Penn State guy, and that's one versus two at 184. That should be a pretty exciting duel, and one of a few wrestlers with Iowa ties in the lineup.
Right. I have a couple of notes on the All Star meet, so this is a good transition.
Yep.
In regards to Parker and Bernie Truax, Truax came Cal Poly to Penn State. They wrestled each other. They wrestled each other twice in the same national tournament. Truax
Yep.
knocked off Kakaisen, I believe, in the quarters, and then Kakaisen. There was a 6-5 match, and then Kakaisen beat Truax for third and fourth, 6-4. So he made you never know when you get to that part of the tournament. Are people tired? Or people made uh, changes? I don't think Kakaisen ever gets tired, but the guy's an energizer bunny, and that's why he's one of my
Yes.
wrestlers to watch in all of college. So a couple other notes on the All Star meet: no Fix, no Aruja at 133, and and instead you have Connor McGonigal, who is wrestling. This is interesting. McGonigal from Lehigh is wrestling, but the current number one ranked guy at 33 is his teammate at Lehigh, Ryan Kirkham, who beat Aruja in the early meet in the first week of the season. So that's an interesting thing. I mean, obviously they asked McGonigal before Ryan beat him.
Right. Well, McGonigal was ranked sixth um, previously, so I think it was somebody from Flow Wrestling that pointed out, how many times have you seen somebody wrestle in the All Star meet that you won't see
Yeah,
wrestle in this team's lineup the rest of the year?
might be a first.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way things have kind of turned. Kirkham with the biggest win I remember in first half of the season in a long, long time.
Right.
Uh,
And one other note on the All Star meet at 157. I don't know what happened with the D1 wrestlers, but this is a neat thing. I'm really looking forward to this. The Division Two champion, his name is Nick Novak from um, St. Cloud, uh, St. Cloud State when I was there. What is it, Minnesota St. Cloud now? And then
mhm.
defending champion at Division Two will take on Nolan Hurdle, who's the defending Division Three champion from Wisconsin lacrosse. So Dave Malachek's, who was the former Xavier coach years ago and has been at
Mhm.
lacrosse for years and years, is his wrestler will be competing. I think that's neat. Division One versus or Division Two versus Division Three. So
You know who else likes it?
say it again.
You know who else likes that edition? I just saw this on Twitter in a post. You know who else likes the edition of D2, D3 champs with the All Star Classic?
Um, I don't know. Probably a
Yanni
lot.
Yanni Diakomahalis.
Oh, sweet.
He said he thought that was a good addition. He's you know he thought that was pretty cool that they were included in this. So I, we also have a couple other Iowa connections. 197 NCAA finalist Tanner Sloan, who's ranked number two. Um, for South Dakota State, he didn't compete in the Daktronics Open like um,
Parker.
Keck Eisen. He's out there at Penn State. Got out there last night, got a workout in, but he takes on number one Aaron Brooks at Penn State um, in his match. And like we mentioned, Sloan finished second last year at 197. Is back trying to see if he can take that next step up, and he'll get a good gauge here against Aaron Brooks. Um,
Brooks,
on the
who's
women's side, or go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, Brooks. Just quickly here, Brooks has bumped up from 84 to 97 now. So,
Yeah,
and boy, his athleticism is going to be tough for Tanner. So, come on, Tanner.
yeah, yeah. Kind of a clash of styles there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, well, we'll see if Tanner can do some work on top. That's he's so good on top. See if he might be able to uh, kind of make up for some things there. It'll be fun to watch that on the women's side of things. And I'm going to apologize here. I'm going to butcher her name. I did when she was at Iowa Wesleyan as well. Hidalgo Wachuku from William Penn. Remember, she was standout for Iowa Wesleyan. Iowa Wesleyan's closed its doors. So now she's at William Penn. She'll face uh, Yaley Aycock from North Central, who's ranked number one um, in the on the NCAA side of things, and then you've got Hidalgo, who's uh, top ranked in NAIA. Then at 160, the University of Iowa, who's in their first season. We'll talk about how they did this weekend as well. But Marilyn Deedy, who transferred from Augsburg to Iowa this year for the Hawkeyes' initial season. She's ranked number one at 160. She is listed against Latifah McBride of Life University, the powerhouse in NAIA, who's ranked number one in NAIA. So a couple of Iowa linked wrestlers um, in the men's and women's matchups for the NWCA Classic.
Should be
Now,
fun.
go ahead.
It should be fun. That is just to put a cap on it here. I'm looking forward to quite a few matches there. I think they have four. We got 10 weights for the men, and I think they have four matches for the women going. And so
Yep.
that's 14 matches on a night. That's a good night.
And I'll run through just really quick. You got Purdue's Matt Ramos at 125 versus Anthony Noto of Lock Haven. 133, Sam Latona of Virginia Tech versus McGonigal of Lehigh, like Coach mentioned. At 141, Lachlan McNeil of North Carolina versus Josh Coderhant of Navy. 149, Shane Van Ness of Penn State versus Kyle Parko of Arizona State. Mentioned Novak and Hurdle, the D2, D3 matchup at 157. 165, we talked about Dean Hamady losing to David Carr. He faces Isaac Olenek of Oklahoma State at 165. 174, Carter Starochi versus Makai Lewis, which we didn't even talk about, but
Yeah,
that's
that's the
that could be a high that could be a main event match anytime anywhere between those two champs. And then at heavyweight, Greg Kirk Vallette of Penn State versus Wyatt Hendrickson of Air Force. That could be a doozy as well. On the women's side, there's Sydney Petzinger of North Central versus Samara Chavez of King at 116. At 130, Sarah Savage of Life versus Alexis Yaniak of Aurora. And then we mentioned the 136 and 160 matches. And the other thing to bring up with the women's matches, uh, the national tournament, the trying to remember the. I don't want to get the letters mixed up on this. The NCWWC championships are here in Cedar Rapids, where you'll see some of those NCAA wrestlers in the All Star Classic right here in Cedar Rapids in March for the national championships. Of course, you'll have the Iowa women wrestling here as well. Um, and I want to bring up the fact that they crowned 6 champions at Missouri Valley um, over the weekend. One 101, you had an all Iowa um, final where Sterling Diaz beat Emily Gonzalez 6-6 on criteria. Brianna Gonzalez at 116, former Southwind prep Felicity Taylor at 123, Esther Hahn at 136, 143 pounder Reese Laramendi, and then Sam Calkins at 235, all won titles. Um, did you go down for the Trailblazer duels?
Yes, I did.
Uh, they said they had 8,000 sold 8,000 tickets for that event. What was your takeaway? From watching those duels with the D1 programs there.
The 8,207 world record, and I was one of those 8,207. So what was my takeaway? First of all, there was a lot of it was cool because a lot of the teams, and I saw coaches with bringing their female teams, their girls teams down. So what a neat thing to do, and be able to do and see some role models on the mat. It was a pretty neat deal. The Iowa ran away with it, which was expected. There's only four Division I schools that have women's wrestling, and none of them. Like I knew where Lindenwood was down in St. Louis area. Presbyterian, I still don't know where that's at. And Sacred Heart, is that the other one? And I'm like, I didn't know Division I schools. So my point for bringing that up is if you're an elite female wrestler, where do you want to go to wrestle? Most likely Iowa. If they have a scholarship offered to you, you're going to snatch that up. I was going to pick the elite athletes and be able to do that until some of these other schools hopefully start their women's programs. Anyway, so that was nice. They almost ran the gauntlet until the last match. That they lost that match, and that was otherwise they went 39-1 on the day. Is that right? No, 29-1 on the day.
Yeah,
2 duels, and then so it was fun. It was fun to be there and support the women.
Did the crowd understand the difference that they're wrestling freestyle and not folk style? I mean, were there any crossover fans from maybe the men's team that didn't
yeah,
understand what was going on?
absolutely, for sure. And especially in a duel, I had forgotten, because I saw the first duel score and I saw it was like 41-1 or something, and I went 1. And I had forgotten that in freestyle you can score a point even if you lose the match. So in other words, if you have a technical fall and it's 10-0, then a technical superiority, then Iowa gets their 5 points, or if it's Iowa gets their 5 points, and the other school gets 0. Now, if it's say 11-1 score, now that person scored 1 point, or 12-2 or whatever, and so now Iowa gets 4. Is it 4-1? Anyway, the other school gets 1. So anyway, I had forgotten that in freestyle dual meets. So but the announcer, and I can't remember her name. She does the national tournaments around. Was announcing it at Iowa. And she did a real nice job of explaining the rules and the scoring. They had it up on the big screen, and so yeah, it was.
That's perfect.
But I was looking it up and reminding myself. So they did a nice job at the University of Iowa. So.
Awesome. Kind of looking forward to that. I'm last year covering the women's championships here. I know Iowa was in attendance. You saw Clarissa Chun and Gary Mayab in the crowd, and some of their wrestlers were here. Obviously, Marilyn Didi was competing
Yes.
here, you know, um, for that. But I'm kind of excited to have that come back. I'm pretty sure that's probably on its way to heading to bigger venues in the near future. But I'm really excited to see that here at Cedar Rapids in March, as well. You know,
I think as we had like more of the, I'm going to say Power Five, though it doesn't really mean that much in wrestling. The Power Five type schools, as they add the sport, I think you're going to see that bigger venue thing. But right now, Cedar Rapids is perfect for it, perfect
right?
size. I will mention this. There's 28 girls on the Iowa roster, three Iowans. Willie Luft, Ellis, from Charles City, Ellis Schmidt from Bettendorf, and you mentioned Felicity Taylor from Spillville. I
Yeah.
skydived into tiny little Spillville on the 4th of
Have
July.
you really?
Thompson brothers. So we had to take off, I think, from Decorah, if I remember right.
Right.
Spillville doesn't have an airport.
uh,
um, very fun. But anyway, a couple other notes on the let's see, the girls. I guess. Oh, I guess that's it on the girls. So
well, we mentioned the women's championships here in Cedar Rapids. Cedar Rapids has hosted the D3 championships in the past. That's in Wisconsin, across Wisconsin this year, though. But D3's well underway as well. What do you have on the D3 front for us?
well, I went down to Co College this past weekend. They had their Co Invitational, sometimes called the Turkey. I think Turkey Invitational. I don't know.
Turkey invite. Yeah.
I don't know if they called it that this year, but anyway, Co was there, and Milliken came in. Milliken's a very top 10 perennially each year. So Milliken was there. That strengthened it up, and we've got some other ones like Cornell brought some in for the first time, but their varsity was out in New York wrestling, and I'll get to that in a minute. But so the Cole Invitational, Co had 5 champions: Ty Kodum at 149 from Sergeant Bluff-Luton, and then Will S. Moyle at 65 from West Liberty. Jared Voss at 184, West Delaware. He's down from 97. At 197, Matt Arsenal. And then at 285, Damari Dancy, who's a transfer from up in Waverly this year. And then other local notables, it's quite a few, so I wanted to get these guys in. 141, Brody Neighbor, Al Burnett, took 5th. At 157, Dylan Flack from Kennedy took 4th. 285, Wyatt Smith, Lisbon was 3rd. At 133, Wyatt, help me out from Benton Community. Bichetti was 2nd.
Oh,
At 125, Gavin Jensen, Williamsburg was 4th. At 125, Kale Long from Kennedy was 5th. And at 133, Jacob Reagan from Waukon was 5th. So up in the northeast Iowa there. And then, so Co had a great job. Did a good job. Let's see. Cornell went out, like I said, to Albany, New York, and wrestled the number 11, 12, and 14 teams, and did a pretty decent job, really. They lost to number 11, 22 to 11. They lost to number 12, 22 to 20. And then to number 14 at the end of the day, they lost 30 to 10. So matchups weren't as good there. Trayton Steffen at 197 went 3-0 from Sumner Fredericksburg. Landon Card from Norwalk at 149 went 2-1, and then their 33-pounder Eli Sneed also went 2-1 on the week. Up at the Concordia, Wisconsin Open, CUW Open, Loris was there, and they some of their place winners: Jalen Schropp, Williamsburg, Bubba, won the tournament. 5-0. He did a nice job. At 157, Gabe Pfizer was second. And 165, Dustin Boren from Bettendorf was first. 133, Aiden Evans, also from Bettendorf, was third. 149, Eric Kincaid from Comanche was third. 165, Ben Faber was fourth from Hampstead. And 174, Zeb Ganida from Solon was sixth. I want to get those local Iowan guys and how they did.
Okay.
Also, that same tournament, Joe Pins from Hampstead wrestler was a champ, and Matthew Doyle from Independence was third. And that's a big tournament. There's like you get to win it, you have 5 matches, so that's a tough tournament. Luther did a nice job at the Augie Open. Went up to, it was just up in Augsburg. They had a runner-up at 125, Christian Chavez, and then they had 4 that took third. Ryan Craig at 141, Clayton McDonough from Central Springs at 157, Jacob Steenhook from Gilbert was at 197, and Walter West was at 285. University of Dubuque was 4th out of 17 at the Albion College Invitational. They had a champ in Tyler Klein at 125, and then he had runner-up Cale Roth at 165, 197, and 285 had finished third. Tyler Thurston, remember him from North Cedar?
Yep.
And then Justin Matson was third. Also at the Augie Open, University of Upper Iowa, Division II, they had a champ in 125, Trayton Ackman, and then they had 3 runner-ups. Tate Murdy, who lost to number 1 ranked Sam Stoll from Augsburg. And then Chase Lunsman was second. He also lost to a number 4 ranked Augsburg wrestler. And then Lawson Losi from Riceville. And Lunsman, of course, is from Monticello.
Yep.
So
D2 national champ last year.
right, exactly. And anyway, so big, good things happening on the D3 side. And Yokoa is ranked in the top 15. So I think they can have an opportunity to move up and improve on that throughout the year for sure.
Sure. Let's transition. I know we're running really long for this first recording. I just want to bring up a little bit about girls wrestling, and in case you haven't seen, Riley Cole has stepped in as a correspondent for the Gazette coverage of girls wrestling. Riley, a long history with the sport of wrestling, going back to her days at West Delaware as a manager. I believe she was a manager at Wartburg for their program as well. She has a history in journalism and has covered the sport for various publications. She's even been involved with announcing at regional and state events. And I'm pretty sure she helped with the announcing last year with the inaugural IGHSAU state tournament at Extreme Arena in Coralville. So excited that she's part of our coverage, and you can check out some of the stuff that she has at thegazette.com. But we hope to have Riley on the show throughout the season to kind of go over the girls wrestling happenings and everything this winter. But just kind of looking the big tournament this last weekend on the girls' side, the Independence Invitational. A lot of teams there. And 27 teams. This really is kind of like the Cliff Keen that we'll see in a couple weeks. They do a heck of a job running tournaments up there. But Bettendorf came away with a team title. Vinton Schellsburg, number 2. They had a couple champs in Bree Swenson and Chloe Sanders. But they came away with second place. Waverly Shellrock was third, of course. Chiara Jamesi, the magnificent wrestler at Waverly Shell Rock who is committed to go to the University of Iowa to wrestle for Clarissa Chun. She won the title there. Cedar Rapids Prairie and East Buchanan rounded out the top five. East Buchanan had a couple champs in Taylor Stifle and Brooklyn Graham. And then Prairie had a finalist um, as well. Um, let me, I'm kind of blanking on the name here for a second, but I think that's one we'll recognize here.
Talking about
Uh, uh, Mackenzie Childers.
Kinsey.
Why
Yeah.
I can't remember the Childers name, but she was a runner up for Prairie. Katie Seary was a champ for Linmar, and then Ella Brown for Kennedy. Um, she won the 235 division there as well. So I think she had a fall in the finals over Madison Heinrichs of Waverly Shell Rock, but good showing for some of our area wrestlers up there at Independence, who had a champ in uh, Strickert at 170, Izzy Strickert.
Well, that's a tournament that's been running before the girls were sanctioned, so that's been going
That's
for
right.
another. That's a big tournament, so for the girls. Now I have to go backtrack here. This is almost ironic. When I was mentioning the co-medalists, I forgot to mention Gabe Magoo.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I'm laughing is because I believe it was Gabe's dad that was, as I was sitting there watching the tournament and he got up to leave, he leaned over and said to me, "Thank you for your coverage of MFL Marmac at the on the penny combination." And then I go, and I had him noted in a different spot, so then I almost omitted him. So I appreciate those comments. It's very nice to hear, and so
Oh,
thank.
without a doubt.
If it was Gabe's dad, thank you.
Because
Um,
that's why we do it, right? I mean, not for the recognition, but to be able to spread a spotlight on the high school and college wrestlers in the sport in Eastern Iowa and a little bit beyond. Um, so we can kind of promote what these guys and girls are doing. All the hard work they put in deserves the attention, even though they'd be fine not getting it. But it's good to provide them with that.
right, and like that goes with me. I don't want the attention, but it was nice that he made that comment, and quite honestly, that's my pay. Because KJ, I'm still waiting on cookies or something. uh, and
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
Nathan. I think Nathan needs to buy us dinner or something.
There we
Nathan
go.
Ford.
Uh,
Have it have him treat us to Leonardo's pizza.
oh yeah, can't beat that.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
the on just my final thought would be this. My final comment. Spencer Lee's back, man. He's back. Yeah, and he's healthy it seems, and he qualified, won the national or won the Bill. What's it
Bill
called?
Farrell, yeah,
Bill
Memorial International.
to qualify for the Olympic trials, and then I think did Warner and Marinelli also qualify. Warner was second. I think Marinelli might have been third. I thought the top
Uh,
five maybe.
I, I'm not sure how exactly that works.
Yeah.
Um, because I think they lost to Americans in the finals. Now I don't know. I think you have to be the highest placing U.S. wrestler in that event to qualify. You have to be at least in the top four and be the highest
Oh,
U.S. wrestler to place. And if
okay.
they lost, I'm not sure if you make the finals, if that automatically, it could be. I'd have to look to double check.
I think you're
But
right.
I know both Marinelli and Warner were runners up. Not sure if that puts them in the trials. It definitely could. I
Yeah.
have to laugh.
Okay. I think you're right on that top American. No, sorry. So only one qualifies. Jeez, that's wow. That's a
Yeah,
tough tournament for only one. Anyway, there we go.
but
Welcome.
I'm sure they'll find their way in there. I mean, that's one thing that probably has been overlooked a little bit. That Marinelli's done well on the freestyle side. Warner's just getting into it after finishing up his career in March. Uh, DeSanto has done some good things in freestyle as well. So it's going to be fun to kind of follow um, those Iowa State UNI guys because you still have guys like Drew Foster and Taylor Lujan and stuff in the thick of things.
Well,
So
you're probably missing the big class. Remember, there's only six weight classes. That's so disappointing.
yeah,
Six weight classes for Olympics, but at the lowest one, 150 or no 52, whatever it is. I don't know. Anyway,
57
just like
kilograms.
that, if Spencer Lee stays on course, he would then probably meet Gilman, right?
Gilman and I thought somebody listed. Well, and there's Zane Richards. Don't forget Zane Richards from Illinois. He was the top guy here this last year. So you've got guys like that. I thought I saw. I don't think it might have been maybe a mistake, but somebody listed Vito as possibly at 57 kilos. I can't imagine him dropping down from 61, but you
I mean,
know, but could you imagine if those guys were all in the same bracket for an Olympic spot?
and that's why it's a shame there's only six weights.
I know, I know, and you're gonna see a lot of that because some of those other weights, guys are gonna have to choose whether or not they're going down or up, and it's gonna make getting one of those spots really, really tough.
Right? From 10 weights to six weights, you're going to see that compression pain.
Yep. Well, I know we ran really, really long this first time. We had a lot of stuff to get to on the college front. If it's okay with you, let's just kind of shelve the boys stuff till next week once they get started with their competition. Um, we'll kind of be ahead of the game on Tuesday uh, when things really get going. I think the first day of competition is Monday. Not too many teams wrestle on Monday, so we'll get in right before Tuesday night's action. If that's all right with you. All right. Well, man, I all excited after talking for the last 90 minutes about all the stuff going on. I'm like really excited for the season coming up,
Yeah,
or to keep
the
going in some instances.
collegiate season's already running. The girls' high school is going. Obviously, women's college is going. International is going now. Kick in the boys, and we're in full gear.
Lot to be thankful for this week. Um, with the holiday and with wrestling going on. We're glad to be back doing the pitting combination podcast. Good to see you again. Hope you're doing well after recovering from your hip surgery and stuff.
Good, good.
So awesome. Look forward to a lot of wrestling coverage this year, whether it be through the podcast or make sure to follow us on KCRG 9.2 each Thursday as we bring you live action with them. Coach, thanks again for joining us, and why don't you take us out with uh, our our favorite line from our friend Late White Schultz.
Let's keep wrestling on the move.